don't know. I guess we got to talk about it though. So Jefferson, what I mean, I'm sure you're not happy that Mitchell is finally done in the club, are you?
Well, it's a sign of the times, isn't it? If you've got a really established, director of football with the acumen and reputation of Paul Mitchell leaving the club, um, and I think there's mixed signals there in terms of he was originally instilled by the board, so that's the board saying, "All right, we're going in this direction." I don't know what conversations took place on the final day of the season. All of a sudden, we're now going in this direction. And
Right.
what we're seeing is, with a lot of the players we're being linked with, they're not the kind of players I'm presuming that Paul Mitchell would be kind of shortlisting for us. And my understanding is you would have the likes of Steve Nixon, Andy Howe, and Jack Ross, former Sunderland boss as well,
Mm,
in charge at the helm. So it's going to be a joint effort until a replacement comes in. For me, I would like to see a replacement come in. I think it's important that the head coach, between the head coach and CEO level, there is an intermediary with checks and balances with an overall strategic view. Um, I felt that having Paul Mitchell in was a sign that we were looking to advance the club and grow the club in the right direction to kind of establish ourselves as a superpower at some point. Obviously, that doesn't come overnight, but kind of adopting the European model is a step forward in the right direction. So I don't know long term what this means. Mitchell leaving, and we moving away from it? So from that perspective, yeah, I'm a little bit upset because it feels like we're going backwards in terms of how we're actually organised. My spirits will be raised if I see a decent level replacement director of football come in.
yeah, Key. We haven't got your thoughts. I don't think on this matter. So, what do you think about the whole Paul Mitchell situation? If it, is it a bad deal, good deal, or what do you think?
Well, I think personally, when the news came out that he was leaving, it suggested to me that things all went, all right in the background. Something was wrong somewhere. So there were disagreements amongst them. You would think, or I think
Hmm.
anyway. But I'm not so sure that Eddie Howe can do everything on his own. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
I don't think Eddie Howe should be the only person who's identifying players. To be honest with you, there
okay.
has to be a team out there. That I mean, football's a global game now. It's not just what's about in the Premier League, which it seems to be. That's where we're going.
Mm,
Everybody has to be Premier League proven. But as for Mitchell, he's the sort of 1 year guy who didn't really do anything to me.
right. Yeah. Oh, I mean, another question would be: was he allowed to do anything? What he wanted
Well,
to do?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it suggests to me that there was disagreements in the background on
Right.
how to progress forward, and it seems as though he said, "Right, okay, it's not for me. I'm off." That's the way it looks to me.
Right. Um, Interesting. But do you think though that Eddie Howe should be the one that to have the final word on all signings that come in?
No, I don't. No.
Not
How
just
can it,
not identifying. I'm talking about the final word. He decides who comes in, who leaves.
well, I think he's definitely got to have an input. There's no two ways about that. At the end of the day,
Right.
he's going to be putting them in the team.
Okay.
But football's moved on from the days when the manager did everything. But back then, when
Mm,
the manager was doing everything, it wasn't really a global game in terms of incomings, was it? It was all just
right.
Premier League clubs buying from Premier League clubs. Well, First Division clubs, should I say, not Premier League clubs. Since the
Right.
Premier League started, then it did become global.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point though. I mean, we need to bring you in when Win is here because he believes that Eddie Howe needs to be the next prime minister. So, uh, uh,
No, he's
so
definitely got to have an input to me, but
yeah.
he kind of keep his eye on everything that's going on in football all around the world. To me,
Exactly, exactly. So we've gifted some memberships, 5 memberships. They're going to Sophie. Sophie, welcome again. Sophie, you should be a member already. Come on now. To coin a phrase, welcome. Joe Robinson, welcome as well as Huey Gallagher, 1927, and it should be another one. Oh, there he goes. Giniesta Vignaldum, welcome to the membership club, and we're gonna be doing another giveaway. We actually got a few giveaways back to back. So when Win comes in, because He's busy tonight, so but when he gets back, we'll do a couple of giveaways for members. So make sure you become a member, enjoy the perks, and yeah, smash that like button, folks. Come on now, subscribe to the channel, and let's continue with the conversation. So Bogi, what are your thoughts, Mitchell? I mean, not officially by the club, I don't think, but pretty much just called it quits. I mean, well, actually, it's got 11 days left, so it's not really that big of a deal, is it?
I'm wondering if it's a bit mixed messaging in regards to has he stepped back from any dealings with the first team, but he's still looking for youth players, or don't forget he also looks after the female team as well. So is he still working in some capacity in that role, but he's just stepped back completely from first team players? That's just a guess. If he has just left completely, then we do need to get somebody in pretty quick to, again, remembering the fact that there is another two element, well as the youth and the War Lasses team as well, which also need to be remembered in regards to the director of football role. As for Eddie, I don't think he can be solely in charge of bringing in players. As everybody said, you need that step between the manager and the CEO. You need someone who's got like a strategy for the club long term, and what type of players we want, the age of the players, profile of the players, things like that.
Well, the also the lack of CEO adds to it. I didn't mention it, but it adds to the not knowing what we're doing, where we're heading, kind of right now. To be honest, I know Darren Niels is there, but you can't help but to think that Darren Niels and Paul Mitchell, for different reasons, are not in the game right now. So
surely going into this summer, we knew what was happening with Eels. They must have been kind of knew what was going to happen with Mitchell.
but
Things should have been in place.
But that's the thing. We've known about Mitchell for how long? I think I don't even know when his diagnosis came out, but like very early in the season, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong. I can't remember really. But man, it's certainly a lot of time to be able to put somebody in place already. The last day of the season should have been Eels saying goodbye, and then this whole time off transition into the new CEO, so he can appoint the new DOF if we're gonna have one, and so on and so forth. But I mean, we can play this game that that we don't know anything, and the club will figure it out. But to be honest, what we see in front of us is not really hopeful as far as it's not how a business should be organized. The season is about to start, which is the most important thing. It revolves around football, so everything should be almost in place. So we get into this. If we bring a DOF, he's not going to have input on the signings. So what are we going to say? The same thing we said about Mitchell, which we got to give him a year.
Yeah, we've got to give him another few months to get his legs under the table and his feet on the carpet before he actually gets involved in any transfer business. Right. But in the same situation as as you've just rightfully said there, last year when Mitchell come on board, 11th hour and like didn't get involved in anything apart from the potential getting Mark Gay over the line. And again, if you listen to reports, what he was saying. They put down a 50 million bid and they didn't move from there. Every time Crystal Palace come back to us, the offer was still £50 million. It was never moved. Speculation saying that we put 60 million down. According to Mitchell, it never ever moved from the 50 because that's the price that they wanted to pay out for that player. And that's apparently is where he was alluding to, that the actual transfer business isn't fit for purpose, because it seems to be whatever price the clubs or the opponent clubs were putting down on these players, we're virtually willing to pay. And he says you can't do that in business. And again, different people read different parts of the lettering and come, 2 and 2 don't make 4 all the time with some people. So, like I said, for me, the lad, the one thing that gets me, right, he bought in the only person of any stature regarding a coach he's bought in, I believe, is Dermot O'Carroll for the under-21s. And now even he's left. So, for me, what this signifies to a lot of people out there, and I don't know you guys, your career paths or anything like that, the career path that I took, when you've got a rumble at the top, shit rolls downhill, and it does affect the business line if you ain't careful. If you haven't got somebody actually pulling the strings and keeping you on the straight and narrow. And this is what I said to Win the other week, was that to me, we look at club to the outsiders, and if we're in trouble, not financially, but boardroom level, it looks like we haven't got a settled boardroom. And if you haven't got a settled boardroom, then things can collapse.
Well, it certainly looks that way. I mean, again, we don't really have a CEO, don't really have a DOF. Eddie Howe right now, in the saying that, what's the saying, when the cat goes away, the mice will play, or something like that. Well, right now,
that comes across as a different meaning in the UK, though, Chris.
Well, but let me welcome Jamie. Jamie, how you been? All good?
Hey, good. Sorry I'm late. The old man wasn't very forthcoming with the joining message,
Oh,
Let's blame it on him.
He's got a bit of a crisis, apparently.
Yeah, but his bollocks dropped. So, but anyways,
losing his hair.
Yeah, Jamie, what do you think about? Apparently, Paul Mitchell is officially, not officially by the club, but pretty much everybody's saying it, that he is stepping away. He can't handle it anymore. So, now we got no CEO, no DOF. I don't know, man.
I think Mitchell stepping away now probably doesn't make much difference. Well, I think we I'd maybe prefer that than the whole lame duck effect. Where he's going in conducting negotiations when he's not going to be here. But yeah, it's kind of what you said there, isn't it? It's never been settled at the top since day one, and I think the coach leaving, it's a better opportunity. The what's his name, Diarmuid Carroll, is it?
Diarmuid O'Carroll, yeah.
Yeah, and he's Sparta Prague are basically promoting him, aren't they? But what you've kind of got to hope is, and it doesn't seem likely with the pace that the PIF operate, is that when it comes down to serious business, because there's nobody there at the minute, everyone's on holiday, that something happens with Paul Mitchell last year, when before you know it, it was just announced out the blue, we've got this guy in as sporting director. And I think someone as chief executive as well, it's got to come down the line. Something's going to have to happen soon, because the transfer window's open, the real one. And the ideal, I think Eddie Howe was saying, getting people in early means getting somebody in for when they come back for pre-season on the 7th of July. And I don't think anyone would think we'd have that full structure in place by then, but some kind of progress would be nice.
Yeah. It's weird, because I don't want to be negative. I want to be critical, but we can only blame PIF, because PIF is the one that appoints CEOs. They should have had already a replacement, like Boki was saying. I don't understand what the holdup is with that. Really, quite honestly, I thought Eels was going to stay because he never left. Although he said he was going to leave, I thought he'd just find a way to, deal with his illness and stay. But the fact that he's leaving, and you had all that time to find a CEO, which is probably, I know when we look at it in football terms, it isn't, but in reality, the CEO is the most important man in the building. So why we don't have one? It makes no sense to me.
That's the only thing. You're absolutely right. It's been months that we've all known about Darren Eales, his condition, and the fact that he said he was staying on board until the new CEO was up to speed. Now, what CEO? It seems as if we're still interviewing. We're virtually a year down the line now. And it seems as if they're still trying to work the right person out for the role. And again, that doesn't fill me with confidence. And it's not about what's happening in the transfer window regarding Newcastle. It's what's happening actually up, like I say, at boardroom level that doesn't fill me with confidence.
Yeah. don't forget to smash the like button. It helps us a lot to keep growing. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, activate all notifications, that way you get notified every time we go live. And don't forget, you can become a member, get exclusive content, access to all of our live shows on demand at the time that you want. Also, of course, giveaways every month, sometimes multiple giveaways a month. So stay tuned for that, check it out, help support the channel. It's a small fee, and of course, you help us and grow. If you hate the Mackhams, smash that like button.
To say that bleeding races. When we got the wheel put on, away we went again. But them that had their noses broke, they came back our him. Some went to the dispensary, and some to Dr. Gibbs's, and some to the infirmary.